James Dobney is here for Ask an Expert. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
We've got lots of calls for you. So Dave is first up in Vancouver. Good morning, Dave.
Morning.
Hi
Dave.
there. What's your question?
I'm looking at doing a kitchen renovation, and I would like to use an induction cooktop stove.
Yeah.
And a wall-mounted oven instead of a freestanding oven. And I just want to know if there's anything I should need to be aware of electrically.
Electrically, do you have an electric stove now?
Yes.
Right, and what you want to check are the specs for the wall-mounted oven and the cooktop and see what they require in terms of power. It could be that you have to put in an extra breaker for those, because right now you probably have a 40 amp breaker going to your range, and the oven and the cooktop together maybe more than that. So check the specs on the product. Have you bought it already?
What?
Oh, he's gone.
All
Anyway,
right.
electrical, he's right. Electrical. The other thing is when you put in the oven, you want to make sure that you have enough clearance to the cabinet,
right.
and that'll be specified in the specifications for the oven as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
those two things are the most important.
All right. Thanks for your call, Dave. Dina is our next caller from Cooper Creek. Good morning, Dina.
Good morning.
Hi there. What's your question for James?
This is about a septic tank. We recently had to have our field and everything done to the tune of a few $1,000s. So I'm wondering if there's a product we can put through the system to keep it working better.
They do. Have you talked? Do you have a company that comes out and cleans it regularly, Dave?
Yes, we do.
Okay, talk to them and ask them what they think the best one are. But there are products that you can put into a septic system in a field, and it keeps the biological action working. And it's a good idea to do that. So I would say talk to the person who cleans it. They'll be familiar with the area and get a recommendation from them. I have a question for you. Is she still there?
Where's Cooper Creek?
Yeah. 40 kilometers north of Caslow.
40 kilometers north of Caslow.
Oh, okay. Good.
I know. I had the same question for her. Well, hi to everyone in Cooper Creek. We'll see if Wesley can do that for her small
and just
town
one more
days.
thing about septic. It is important that you do get them cleaned regularly, and that you be careful what you flush into them, because they're not permanent systems. They're every 20, 25 years you have to look at, in your case, doing a renovation to them or possibly replacing them, and it's very expensive. So so the more care you take of them, and a lot of BC are on septic fields and septic tanks, so that's important.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Tina.
Good question.
And our next question is on email, and it comes from Craig. And Craig writes, the concrete front door steps of our 45-year-old house have multiple layers of peeling paint, but the concrete is also pitted and chipped. I can't fill the pits and chips until I remove the paint. What would you suggest for refinishing, as they look terrible?
Always a problem when you paint concrete, because it's out in the weather all the time when it's on stairs. It's hard to get the paint or the finish to adhere to it. One thing you might think about is going to ceramic tiles. That's an expensive solution, but it's a more permanent one. And if you do that, you want to look at a frost-proof tile, and also that you use a slip-resistant one as well, because they can get quite slippery. So if you decide to spend extra money, go with ceramic tile. You can paint them successfully, but as a key with most painting is preparation. And you have to make sure that you get them really clean, use the proper primers, and don't skimp on the paint when it comes to getting a good paint.
All right. Have fun with that, Craig. Thanks for your question. Our next question is from Suzanne in Penticton on the line. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What's your question for James?
My question is that we live in the Okanagan in Penticton, and we get very hot morning sun. And my question is, I've been told that faux wood blinds would be better than actual wood blinds, and I'm scared that either one will warp. Can we answer that question?
Faux wood as opposed to
so plastic wood? Blind as opposed to a wood one. I don't think you'd have a problem with the wood ones. It depends on how long the sun is there and how hot it gets. Ideally, if you can stop the sun coming in from before it gets through the window, so maybe you might want to think about an outside awning or an outside shutter. They do make an outside product that's metal, and it comes down over the window from the outside, and then you're not going to get the heat buildup. So talk to the person who sells them, get their recommendation, but I would suggest that if you can get something on the outside instead of the inside, it would probably work better.
Right. Okay, thanks for your call this morning. Roxy is our next caller from Nanaimo. Good morning, Roxy.
Good morning.
Hi, Roxy.
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks for having this wonderful service, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
My question is, how is the best way to get moss off your shingles?
Asphalt shingles or wood?
Asphalt.
Asphalt? You can pressure wash them, but you don't want to use a pressure that's too high, otherwise you can damage the the actual roof itself. So if you do that, and obviously you want to be careful if you get up on a roof. At least asphalt shingles aren't as slippery as wood. You can actually physically remove it if you're comfortable getting on the roof and using a stiff broom. Just brush it off that way. Best way is to keep it to the extent that you can from growing in the first place. You can put on what are called zinc strips along the ridge and maybe halfway down the roof, and the zinc will actually kill the moss. So that helps as well. If you have a lot of trees around your house, get rid of the trees.
Right.
The more the roof is shaded, the more likely you are to have problems with moss buildup. And it is a good idea to get rid of it. Yeah. For sure.
So get rid of it and then get those zinc strips on.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks very much for your call, Roxy. And we have one more email question for you today, James. It's from Vicky, and Vicky writes, we have aluminum siding on our house that has really faded. Is there a way to bring the finish back, or would we be able to paint it, and what kind of paint would we be able to use?
No way to bring the finish back. Yes, you can paint it, and pretty successfully. Again, with painting, it's preparation. You want to wash it, and be careful about pressure washing. I'm not a big fan of pressure washing either aluminum or vinyl or wood for that matter, because the water gets up underneath and behind the siding.
Right.
So soap and water, a car wash brush works well for that. Go to the paint store and get the recommendations for the proper primer. Probably not a latex, probably an oil-based, a thin oil-based metal primer. And then don't be afraid to spend the money on paint. Get the best quality latex paint that you can and paint it on. But aluminum is tough stuff, and it lasts very well, and you can paint it successfully, and a lot cheaper than residing your house.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks so much for all of your questions for James today. If you do have more for James, and I'm sure you do, you could reach him at the phone number on your screen, 604-942-8272. Or you can check out his website, jamesdobney.com, and email him at admin@jamesdobney.com. If you have a question for any of our Ask an Expert guests, email us, weekendnews@globaltv.com. Make sure you put the guest name in the subject line, and next week we'll have travel consultant Claire Newell in studio with us. Thank you very much, my friend.
You're welcome.
Cooper Creek, was it?
Yeah, sounds like a great place.
Cooper's Creek. So we want that to be the small town one of these weekends.
Okay, we can add that to the list.
Okay.
That's no problem. I think we have to redo another list coming up in the next couple of months. So we'll keep that in mind. But for today, we are saying good morning to everyone at the small town of Grand Isle. It's located on the shores of Bebbing Lake in the BC interior. Now, Grand Isle is a community that offers prime fishing